Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Tuckahoe Planning Board meeting. Today is February 16th, 2022. Nancy, please take attendance.
Yes. Commissioner Narenberg.
Present.
Commissioner Barra. Is he out?
He's out today, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Wolfson.
Present.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Your mic.
Present.
Okay. And Commissioner Michelle.
Present.
Chairman Leo.
Present.
Okay.
Okay, so on our agenda this evening, we have the approval of the meeting minutes of December 21st, 2021, approval of the meeting minutes of January 18th, 225 White Plains Road and 170 Marbledale Road. Again, 200 White Plains Road has adjourned. Okay, so at this point, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 21st. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I make a motion to approve, so before we approve the January 18th, 2022 meeting minutes, I just want to clarify, Commissioner Adrienne Michelle was present at that meeting, so we need to amend the meeting minutes to indicate her she was present at the meeting. All right. Gary, do I have to have a second for that?
Will you make a motion with that amendment? Yeah, and it needs to be second, and then you take the
Okay.
roll call.
All right, so I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of January 18th with the following amendment. Please indicate that Commissioner Adrienne Michelle was present at that meeting. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, so at this point, can we have 225 White Plains Road come up?
Commissioner, Chairman, you didn't vote for the amended minute.
You're breaking up, Nancy, sorry.
That's for the entire minutes? Everything's. Okay.
Yeah, with the amendment, Nancy. It was
Okay, got it.
both. So
Got
he
it.
combined it, which is fine.
Okay, thanks, Gary.
So at this point, we'd like to go over 225 White Plains Road. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm present.
Hey, Louis, how are you?
How are you? Good evening. Good evening, Chair, members of the board. Again, Louis Campana on behalf of the applicant. We were before this board last month where we presented a subdivision of an existing 21,996 square foot lot into two 10,000 plus square foot lots as of right and in full compliance with the village zoning law. We were also asked, and I'd like to share my screen to update the plan to show the footprint of each dwelling and the curb cut. Gary, I think you need to let me share.
It's Carolina,
Carolyn?
the host tonight.
Yes. Okay. Should be good now.
Okay, let's see. So we've updated the plan. If you all can see that now. Show the location of each of the dwellings on their respective lots and their curb cuts. Lot 1 will be 11,929 square feet fronting White Plains Road and Gifford Street with a curb cut on Gifford. And Lot 2 will be 10,066 square feet.
It's on the other side of 22.
With fronting Winter Hill and Henry Street. The curb cut will be on Henry Street. Both of these conditions, I believe, in my opinion, would be the safest for both pedestrians and vehicular traffic. I'd also like to mention that we will be omitting an existing hazardous condition by removing the two curb cuts flanking the existing bus stop located on Winter Hill. And with that being said, I'd like to field any questions that the board may have.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. Does anyone from the board have any other questions of the applicant?
I don't.
Okay, so can you, all right, so before I open the public hearing, can I make a motion to open the public hearing? Can I have a second, please?
I
Second.
second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 All right, so Louis, can you stop sharing for a second, please?
Yeah, sure.
So before we begin this evening, I just want to make sure, I know there's people here probably to discuss this application. I just want to make it very clear what's in front of us today. What's in front of us today is moving a line, a property line, not a property line, a division line of the property from one location to another. That's the only thing in front of this board. I know we've received several letters from the community concerned about the tree, concerned about the home itself. But I want to make it very clear, what we have in front of us is literally just moving a line on a site plan. The application to remove the house is in front of the building department. The application to also remove the trees was in front of the building department. And for the record, both permits have been issued to do that. As of today, the large tree has been removed. And I don't know when the home will be demolished, but it is scheduled to be demolished. So I just want to make sure everyone is clear what the scope of this board is. So is anyone here from the public wish to speak on this application?
Yes, quick question, Tony, if I may.
Hey, John, good evening.
John Wilson, 14 Henry Street. So if we do have questions regarding, for example, the plan for the remaining trees, there is no building department public meeting, from what I understand. How does one ask such questions if there's no oversight that the public can actually get involved in or attend or ask questions related to this?
So again, I don't know. I believe the applications for the homes will be coming in front of this board. In addition to the homes, there will be a landscaping plan, which will identify new trees, existing trees to remain. Is that correct, Gary?
Bill, that's there is no site plan on this. As with 2 single-family homes, is that the determination, correct, of the building department?
Yes, that's correct. They don't require site plan approval. One or two family homes are exempt.
So John, with regard to the trees, we have a tree section in our code. If there's a concern, you put it on writing to the building department. If it's a question, I'm sure they'll be able to help answer it for you. But our code basically says, and I'm trying to remember, it's an applicant can take the 2 trees down on their private property in every 2-year period, basically without, all they do is have to give us notice. We don't have to issue permits for that, and they can do that as of right. If they're going to take more than 2 trees down, there's a list of criteria, and we do have to issue a permit for that. And there's a list of criteria that they would have to meet by for the building department for them to issue that permit to take down more than 2 trees. Now, I know that I've heard that there was 5 trees taken down up there, but my understanding is that 3 of them were dead. Our DPW, head of DPW, Frank DeMarco, is an arborist, and I know he was up there with our village administrator, David Burke, to look at those trees, and they confirmed that those trees just needed to come down. They were not healthy trees. So there were 2 trees that were healthy that he could take down as of right, and I believe that was done.
Okay, so I guess I still need an answer to my question in terms of the remaining trees. There's 4 or 5 of them. When does that get addressed? I understand what the codes are and the ordinances are, and how are they being, how's that being reviewed and approved and the like, without public comment, without public input. I'm sorry.
Gary,
It doesn't call for a public hearing, but it is a application to the building department who would issue the permit. That's what our code says. So if there's a concern about other trees, I would put that in, questions that you may have in writing, and I'm sure they'll do the best job they can to answer you, and then take your comments into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak on this application?
Yes, I would like to speak, please. Jeff Sheldon, 50 Columbus Avenue, Tuckahoe. So I literally have two questions, and I think really I echo John Wilson and his questions about process. Firstly, it would have been very nice if, given the level of sort of public discussion at this last meeting, if it was made clear of what the process would be. I feel like it's very convenient to sit here at this point in time and talk about this is just a discussion about moving a property line when the historic tree has already been taken down and when a demolition permit has already been issued. I think what I found very, very interesting was looking at the FOIL request that we received and noticing that both the demolition permit and the tree permit were issued the day after the last planning board meeting. The day after that, I think, how many was it? 20 people showed up to ask about the historical significance of this property and whether it would be worth saving. My question coming out of that would be, why even bother with a public hearing? Why even bother with a facade of having people comment if it is a foregone conclusion that, this property was obviously going to be subdivided and the actions taken by the building department were simply, there's a public outrage, there's public concerns, let's issue the permit, get the tree down as quickly as possible and get the house down as quickly as possible. So why have a public hearing at all?
Just to clarify, there things happening things were happening separately. For example, the application in front of us was literally moving a line. A separate application was submitted to the building department for the tree, and a separate application was submitted to the building department to remove the house. We only saw the application for subdividing this lot. This is the only thing the planning board has seen. Yes, it is a coincidence that it occurred the following day. I know you have a conspiracy theory. I get it. That's fine. But again, the only thing in front of this board, the only bit of information we have is what was presented to us.
I don't believe in conspiracy theories, Mr. Leo. I just look at actions and how they are taken. But what I would ask is, the fact that, the process to me seems just, out of whack here. I mean, we have a town that is patting itself on the back, or a village that's lauding itself for creating a historical preservation act. And yet at the very same time, there seems to be no due process or instructions for how you actually apply to, for the historical significance of a building and a tree. I think actually also, the status of being a Arbor Day Foundation, quote unquote tree city is frankly a little embarrassing at this point.
Okay, thank you.
But
Does anyone else have any?
I think as a village, we really do need to kind of get our ducks in a row in terms of this historical preservation, and we need to actually make things a little bit more transparent. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone else wish to speak on this application?
Hi, it's Ed Conway. I just promised 1 minute on the tree. Gary
Give us
did.
your address, sir.
Sure, it's 8 Winslow Circle, Ed Conway. Gary did try to explain to me the permit process and everything, but there were 5 trees that were requested to be taken down. 4 of them were, 1 of them was only dead. So others were taken down, and there was no rationale for this particular tree to be taken down. So I think that's why the community is concerned about how that decision actually happened. There's no rationale for that particular tree, especially there's a dead tree still standing right next to it.
Again, this board has nothing to do with the trees. So again, that's something you need to take up with the building department.
Yeah, I tried to get an answer, but it's difficult. The other thing I'd like to propose then is, I know reading from the code, and I could be mistaken, but that a park could be discussed to be put on that site. And that discussion should happen, whether that's appropriate. And given that historical part of town next to the Crawford Monument, maybe we call that Crawford Crawford Park.
You're suggesting that a piece of private property be made into a park? Is that?
According to the code, I could be mistaken, but there has to be a discussion of a park on a subdivision.
And yeah, that is before the board. What happens is if it's not feasible for a park to be on this private property, what the board would do, and what we've done our investigation on, is they can set a fee of 10% of the newly created lot, of the value of the newly created lot, for the applicant to put up to go into our park and recreation fund. And that's a fee to them. Just so you know, we have been in touch with Todd Hutchins, our tax assessor, to basically say, this is the newly created lot here. What's the value of it? And he's determined the value to be $350,000. So the rec fee on this one would be $35,000. And that goes into our parks.
Is that just the subdivision, the new subdivision part, or that's
Yeah.
the total value?
No, just a new subdivision.
The new lot, right? It's the new lot, and that's the building department's interpreted it as whatever he's creating. The new lot is the value of that. We just handled that down at Pause and Play, same issue. They did a subdivision down there, and we determined what the value of the new lot was, basically by going through the Eastchester taxes, Village of Tuckahoe's tax assessor, to determine the value. And he's come up with the value of $350,000 for that.
But what's the criteria for a park then? And who decides whether, should it be in front of the planning board to discuss whether, or the village board to discuss whether that's an appropriate?
No, it's a planning board issue. And in the past, again, with lots like this, it's their determination, but it's really just not feasible to put a park there. So in lieu of that, they've been charging the 10% of the value of the lot.
But
And that's pretty much in every case that we've dealt with.
Historic nature of that tree, one could make, an argument that it would be a nice historical park to have right there next to that monument. I mean, what is the criteria? Then shouldn't that be discussed in a meeting, the pros and the cons of a park, and what are the criteria for a park publicly?
It's
Just for transparency.
Yeah, no, the board determines whether a park can go there. And if it's not feasible, then he's going to pay us 10%.
Yeah. And what is the criteria?
Feasibility. I think that was the word in the code.
What?
So looking at the code, I have a copy of the code here. All right. That says that subdivision approval, 7-2.2, creation of parks, recreation fee. If a planning board determines that a suitable park or parks of adequate size cannot be properly located in any such.
This isn't how we usually look. I didn't sleep at all last night.
Can you, Caroline, can you mute Susan Schultz, please? Thank you. Creation of parks, recreation fee. If the planning board determines that a suitable park or parks of adequate size cannot be properly located in any such plat or otherwise not practical, the planning board shall require as a condition of approval of any such plat, the payment of a recreation fee in the amount of 10% of the appraised valuation of the new lot.
Yeah, it's not easy reading.
I'm sorry?
Not easy reading.
Yeah, I don't know what plat means. Is that
It's a plot. It's a piece of property.
Oh, plot.
Yeah, it's a plat. It's
a plat, but it's the new lot.
Yeah.
In English.
According to that, the code, it says that should be discussed and a decision should be made. And I think,
So let's have a discussion. I mean, go ahead. I mean, ready to have the discussion, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm proposing, I think that would be a great spot for a little park, with some baby swings and maybe a tree where that old tree was to commemorate that. I mean, we don't know how old it was. We can figure out, maybe it's hundreds of years old, when that skirmish right there took place. And we could put a plaque there.
Yeah, I'd second that.
So,
Good idea.
can I make a comment on that?
Sure, okay.
So there was at the last meeting, there was a lot of concern from many of the people from the public who voiced their opinion that there would be safety issues at this location. So for Children's Park to be located at one of the busiest intersections, I don't think that's appropriate. There is, however, in fact, a plot of land, the triangle at the top of Winter Hill, which is dedicated, known as Gifford Park, to the history of this area. So if there's one already existing,
Well, this would be more with benches because you really can't.
Yeah, that's
sit
not
down there.
usable.
It's not usable for that.
It's not really usable as a park. as such.
no usability to it. Again, it's a highly trafficked area, and
No, I'm in total agreement. I believe it's not a safe area. I believe it's a difficult corner. I could see it from my window right now. Constant honking, it's a dangerous location. So I don't think personally it's appropriate for a park, but that's my opinion. Does anyone else from the planning board have any comments or their opinions on this matter?
Hey, Antonio?
Yes.
I believe that section of the code for subdivision was originally set up when they were doing the subdivision for Riverview, and it was proposed 18 multiple lots. At that point, even there, it was deemed there was no land that would be appropriate, and that the developer pay a 10% recreation fee, which we had applied to the other existing parks.
Okay.
Antonio, also with, from my recollection, we had a couple other some lots create, like, we didn't create actual parks. We did pocket parks, Gary would tell you, which is a small little park area. So I don't believe that the code would specifically say to take that lot and make it a park.
No.
It says, you can make a pocket park.
No, the owner of the property would have to be compensated for that, I would imagine. You're taking his private property away.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So the village would have to come up with the equivalent for argument's sake. The value of the lot is $350 for argument's sake. And you could say, okay, I want $500,000. We have to come up with $500,000.
Yes, and that would go probably in front of the Board of Trustees to pay for it. But there are small parks, just like on the corner of Fisher and Marbledale. There's a small little park right there. So there are small little parks around, and the residents up here have to go all the way down the hill, especially with little children. I'm just proposing it, that maybe the community thinks that might be a nice little park, given the historic nature of that corner as you come into Tuckahoe.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the board would consider
No, I was
actually.
talking to Ed, sorry. Ed, any other comments?
No, that's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Before you go, anyone else from the would like to speak on this matter? Okay, so go ahead.
So I literally just wanted to say I support Ed's idea. I think it's an absolutely lovely idea to put a site of historical significance into a park or a community garden. And, similarly to when I encouraged the board last month to explore the historical significance of the site, I would ask you to consider doing that again and maybe reaching out to our general public and the voting body to see if there would be interest in having a park at a site of historical significance versus 2 more additional houses. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else have any comments on this application?
The application for the subdivision or for the park?
Subdivision.
Okay. Back to my question on trees. So in what forum will we discover the plans for that lot in terms of the current trees that are remaining?
Well, I would imagine once the architect makes the application to the building department, then you can foil it, and then you could actually, or go to the building department and actually review the plans. Is that correct, Bill?
Yes, once we receive all the plans with the landscaping, they would be available for the public to see.
So they haven't been submitted at this point?
That's correct.
Okay.
Mr. Capano, when do you think you'll submit your plans, just as a rough guesstimate?
we started schematic design, probably, I would say in a month or so.
a month or so? Okay.
So we don't know at this point whether the other trees will be raised to the ground or not.
We don't know.
Does the architect?
At this point, none that are currently existing that I can imagine. The ones that were located where the footprints of the two dwellings are located were removed.
Okay, so the current trees that are currently in place, they will remain at this point?
There may be another taken down, but we have to further study that. So that'd be part of our application to the building department with the homes and the landscape plan.
Okay, well, I think I probably represent most people here in requesting that being given serious consideration to retain as many of those trees as possible, particularly the fir trees in the front.
Mr. Capone, is there a plan to add trees to the property?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yes. Are there plans to add additional trees to the property?
Well, at this point, the homes are under, in schematic design, so the landscape plan will follow the design of the homes. But yes, we are taking into consideration the existing trees that are there, especially those that are lining the property up Winter Hill and White Plains Road.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
anyone else?
I just had one final thing on the trees. The one thing I did read in the code was that the planning board, and I may not have this correct, the planning board has the ability to designate a tree not to be removed. And it's in the code. I know Gary tried to explain something about it may not be the case, but in the code, it says that the planning board has that right to prevent the removal of any tree.
That would only be on site plan approval, and it's not here for site plan approval. It's only here for subdivision.
Yeah, that's why I tried to explain. Part of a site plan approval, the planning board may make condition to save a tree, but it's not before us right now.
But where does that, if you can just help me out, where does that say that in the code? It has to be site?
That's the only time the planning board would review it. That's 7-1 of what their review is. That's the only time that they would review it. It's not going to be reviewed in a subdivision.
Okay, but it doesn't say that under the tree code. It doesn't reference that. So that's why.
Right, but again, it wouldn't be before the planning board other than site plan.
All right, thank you.
Antonio, my suggestion is that the public, if they have some concerns with some of the trees, put it in writing to the building department. When we do our review, when we do our site plan approval, we'll take it into consideration and we'll see what we can do.
Okay. That's fair. Thank you, Mike.
Are there specific email addresses who those letters should be directed to?
It should be on our website. Look at the building department, Bill Williams, Mike Seminar is here.
Okay, Bill,
So send it to the building department.
Okay, thank you.
Just as a general comment, we are not anti-tree as a village. We are very pro-tree. So we're going to do everything we can, obviously in our control, to save these trees without question. But it's private property and they have rights per our code. But
yeah, I definitely appreciate that. But the factors that are listed in the code, there were three of those trees obviously needed to be brought down because of the demolition. But that one particular tree, and as we discussed, you can put in an application to cut down all of the trees based upon what was done in this particular case. That particular tree had no reason to be cut down at that time. So it looks like based upon current process, all of those trees can be cut down.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah,
when the purpose of the ordinance, as you said, is to preserve and protect the trees in the neighborhood. That's the overriding purpose of that ordinance, but it wasn't followed here.
Well, I disagree. As soon as I hung up with you, Ed, after speaking with you, I called our village administrator to see what was going on up there. He actually went for a site visit with the head of the DPW, Frank DeMarco, and 3 of the trees that were taken down out of the 5 were dead trees. And that was confirmed by our people.
But the application only mentions 1 dead tree. There were 2 applications. One had all 5 trees. The second application, for whatever reason, one of the trees was scratched out and a second application was put in. only one of the trees was signified as dead, and then the application was then issued for 4 trees.
Bill, can you confirm
Which
how
doesn't
many,
make
how many
sense.
live trees were? And again, we're kind of going off of a tangent
I know,
here
but it's
because
with
it's
the
not
record. I
before
think
this
that's what
board.
everybody's
But I
concerned.
do want to answer everyone your question, Ed, and I
Yeah.
want to, Bill, do you recall?
The original application was for 1 tree, then we got a revised application because upon the visit to the site was determined there was 3 trees that were dead and by the foundation of the existing house that would have been a problem for demolition that would have come down anyway. So we sent our arborist up there again with our business administrator who looked at the situation and said that the 3 trees that were dead need to come down. And as you know, the code allows someone to take down 2 within a 24-month period without even getting a permit. That's what the law says.
Yes, no,
It says
agreed.
all they have to do is notify us.
But the applications in the record state there was only 1 dead tree, and that's why a permit was issued for 4. And the reason on the applications were for future development. That's what the reason for the bringing down the trees was, future development.
Then you need to talk, Ed, to the arborist who approved the application. It's not approved by the building department. It's approved by the village arborist.
But only 1 dead tree in the record says that it's dead, and that's why a permit was issued for 4. So I think that everybody's wondering, could a permit be issued for 5, 6, 7, 8? According to the criteria, that should not have happened. That's all.
That's incorrect. We were told there was 3 dead trees.
Not
I
in
don't
the
know what the paperwork in the application said. I'm going by what the arborist told us. That's why we stamped it after he signed it, saying that it was approved.
Okay, anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on this application? Okay, so at this point, since no one else is here to speak on this application, I make a motion to close the public hearing. Can I have a second, please? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Does anyone from the board have any questions on this application, what we just heard? Okay. So at this point, I'd like to read a resolution. Village of Tuckahoe, Planning Board Resolution, applicant owner, Rowley 111 LLC, location on the project, 225 White Plains Road, Tuckahoe, Section 30, Block 2, Lot 3, description of project, subdivision of the lot at 225 White Plains Road. Secret resolution. Pursuant to the regulations of SECRA, this board finds that 1, action taken herein is an unlisted action subject to the requirements of SECRA and its implementing regulations. 2, the board is in possession of all information reasonably necessary to make the determination as to the environmental significance of the proposed site plan application. 3, the action herein shall not have significant adverse impact on the environment and is declared that the negative declaration is hereby adopted with regard to this action. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Nancy, please take roll.
Commissioner Nierenberg,
4.
Commissioner Wolfson,
4.
Carpenter,
So what's our show? Like Sandstein?
Can you unmute? Thank you.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Carpenter
4.
and Commissioner Michelle
In favor.
and Leo.
In favor. The following is the resolution decision of the planning board of the Village of Tuckahoe, New York. Applicant is seeking to subdivide the lot located at 225 White Plains Road, Tuckahoe. The requested subdivision will create 2 lots, each in excess of 10,000 square feet. Both newly created lots will conform to the current zoning codes. The applicant is seeking no variance in connection with this subdivision. Based on the facts that the applicant requests complies with village current codes, this board review of the subdivision is limited per section 7-2 of the village zoning code. It should be noted that the applicant is not before this board for site plan review. We therefore approve the requested application for subdivision. We find that based on the proposed subdivision, the applicant cannot practically propose parkland located on the property. Thus, the applicant must, pursuant to section 7-2, pay a recreation fee of 10% of the newly created lot. To determine the value of the newly created lot, this board, through the building department, has consulted with the village's tax assessor and agrees with the tax assessor's determination that the lot is valued at $350,000. Therefore, the recreation fee shall be set at $35,000. Lastly, the building inspector shall review all drainage issues associated with the project. At any time, may consult if necessary with the village's engineer, and the cost of the village engineer shall be borne by the applicant. Every representation of the applicant made in its application and presentation will be a condition of this approval. Any deviation from the representations made shall be a cause for the revocation of said approval. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Nancy, please take roll.
Yes, Commissioner Narenberg,
For.
Commissioner Wolfson,
4,
Commissioner Carpenter,
4.
Commissioner Michelle,
In favor.
Chairman Leo.
In favor. All right, thank you all. Next application.
Mr. Chair, I also just noticed that there's a lot of more people on here than when we started. I just want to let everyone know that the soccer field for Iona has been adjourned. We found that out a few hours right before the meeting that they requested the adjournment, and that adjournment was granted. So if anyone's on here for that, it's going to be heard next month. But there will be a work session that everyone can attend. And if you look at the village calendar, you can find out. It's usually, what is it, first Tuesday of the month?
March 1st.
March 1st.
Tony, I have a quick question, if I may, before you proceed.
Sure.
Just a question for those of us who haven't attended these before. What is the process regarding the 225 White Plains project moving forward in terms of reviewing site plans, designs, landscaping, et cetera, in front of this board?
That application goes directly to the building department, and the building department will make all those decisions.
So you guys have no involvement in design or landscape design or building design or anything?
No, the boards took that away from the planning board, I'm going to say about 10 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago.
So how does the public see what it's going to look like and have any opinion?
You have to go to the building department and look at the plans there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So basically, this is it. So, you know.
Again, yes. Typically, when I was initially on the planning board, we used to review all the residential projects for the village, and that at one point was taken away from the planning board, and that authority was given to the building department.
So
perhaps that's something you go back to the village board and say, hey, maybe that should be something that goes back to the planning board. That's it's above our pay grade, and that's the trustees' decision.
So basically,
I think,
as is written, there's no more input from the public on this project. It is what it is, and we just have to deal with it.
The project is as of right. In other words, he legally has two 10,000 square foot properties. He can build 2 homes on it based on the FAR. He could build 3,500 square foot homes or something like that.
Regardless of design or look or anything, it just it could be two metal boxes, and that's fine.
Well, no, yes, conceptually it could be 2 metal boxes, but I know the architect very well, and he is a very good architect. He does. I've seen.
No, I didn't mean to cast.
No. And I'm just trying to put everybody at ease here. I know the architect very well. He does a lot of residential homes. He does quality work. I'm confident that he will provide a quality product to our community. As you know, it affects you the most. It's the property next door. So I'm very confident that he'll provide a product that's going to really fit well into the character of the homes in Gifford Park. So I have a lot of confidence.
I have a question about that too. I live on Henry Street.
Ma'am,
Amanda Eckert. I live on
Hold
Henry.
on a second, please.
Yes, sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay, let me just finish with John, and then you can speak.
Thanks, Tom.
And so John, so I'm confident that he will provide homes, the design of homes that are going to fit in character of the Gifford Park community.
But as of now, you guys have no say in it. The public has no say in anything, and the building department either approves or disapproves or makes suggestions, but that's about it.
That is correct.
Hey, John, as in, if you were to do anything to your house, you would just come to the building department. If it was changed back to 1 and 2 family homes, you would also have to go to the planning board to do an addition or alteration.
Yeah, but we're not talking alterations. We're talking about demolition and building new properties and basically
So, John, I'm talking about time. If you were to come in and want to do an addition or alteration and had to go before the planning, you would be 6, 8, 9 months down the road before you would get your approvals. That's why it was removed.
No, I understand, but I just think new development versus current building modifications. Obviously, there's no difference in this case. So it's surprising to hear that, but I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Eckert?
Excuse me, Chairman Leo and Bill, I do have here the section 7-1 approval of site plans. Maybe I can share the screen and you can illustrate that to the public.
Carolina.
Yeah, it's part of our code. But John, I think once we get the plans, I think we could try to get them on the website. Bill, we can throw those up if we get PDFs so the public can see them.
Yes, we can.
All right, so let's do that.
Thank you. And the trees as well, what the plans are for them. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
So yeah, my question just kind of really just connected to John's, because I'm looking at the plan that you guys had put up. And already, my question is, the property on Henry Street has an under garage, but then the property on Gifford has a nice side garage. So like, that's just kind of like the design, like how do we kind of have input into that? Because most of the houses on Henry Street have separate separate garages that are off to the side, but this is, and I understand the 3 that were kind of built next to it and like later on in the community do have like an under garage, but I just feel like it's a big enough lot to have a garage to the side. So it's just more, how do we get those kind of aesthetic aspects heard and taken into account?
Yeah, unfortunately,
if it's not in this space.
Unfortunately, again, it's not in front of us. The homes are not in front of us. The design is reviewed by the building department. And just for your information, the 3 houses adjacent to that piece of property on Henry, they all have, garages that go underneath the homes. So it's, it's a consistent design on Henry Street. Okay, so I need to move on to the next applicant, 170 Marbledale, Ms. Barbuti.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. David Barbuti, architect, representing automotive upholstery, Mr. Ron Ackerman. Would you like me to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Can everyone see it?
Yeah, just popped up.
Perfect. Okay. So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're here tonight seeking approval for a new rear concrete stamped retaining wall along the rear of the property. We're also here to remove an existing chain link fence that encroaches into this village right away and replace it with a new aluminum picket type fence and repave the existing parking lot and restripe it. At the last meeting and work sessions, the board had some concerns, and I believe that we have addressed all concerns that the board had. And if there are any further questions, I'm free to answer any questions that the board may have.
First, let me thank you for all the you and the owner of the property for accommodating our requests. And I think in the end, it'll be a very nice project. I have no further comments. And again, I just want to thank you for your support with these the changes. Does anyone else on the board have any questions of this applicant?
None here.
Okay, so Mr. Booty, can you stop sharing, please?
Certainly.
All right, so since no one from the board has any questions, I make a motion to reopen the public hearing. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. Is anyone here from the public wish to speak on this application? Since I hear no one speaking, okay, so I make a motion to close the public hearing. Have a second, please.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the Village of Tuckahoe, Planning Board Resolution, applicant Frank Ackerman, IRR Trust, location 170 Marbledale Road, Tuckahoe, Section 39, Block 3, Lot 4A. Description of project, construction of a retaining wall at the rear of the property. Secret resolution. Pursuant to regulations of secret, this board finds that 1, the action taken herein is an unlisted action subject to the requirements of secret and its implementing regulations. 2, this board is in possession of all information reasonably necessary to make the determination as to the environmental significance of the proposed site plan application. 3, the action taken herein shall not have a significant adverse impact of the environment and is declared that a negative declaration is hereby adopted with regard to this action. Have a second, please.
Second.
Nancy, please take roll.
Commissioner Narenberg,
4.
Commissioner Wolfson,
4.
Commissioner Carpenter,
4.
Commissioner Michelle,
In favor.
Chairman Leo.
In favor. The following is the resolution decision of the Planning Board of the Village of Tuckahoe, New York. The applicant is seeking to expand the rear yard area of the property located at 170 Marbledale Road in Tuckahoe, and they will need to construct a new retaining wall at the rear of the property. This new retaining wall will be a significant improvement to the property, as what exists currently are shrubs, dirt, and a large rock outcropping. The outstanding issue is that the applicant does not know yet what will be found in the rear yard until actual excavation takes place. Once excavation is brought back to the proposed rear yard location, the applicant will present the final retaining wall design to the planning board. The applicant will also be installing a new on-site drywall system along with a new aluminum picket fence at the front of the property. We are providing partial project approval so that the applicant can begin the rear excavation of the site. Once excavation has been completed, the applicant will provide a final retaining wall design proposal to the planning board for review and final approval. We find that based on the work sessions and presentations at the public hearing, that the applicant has met its burden as to the 7-1 of the Village of Tuckahoe zoning code. Every representation of the applicant made in its applications and presentation will be a condition of this approval. Any deviation from representations made shall be cause for the revocation of said approval. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Nancy, please take roll.
Commissioner Narenberg,
4.
Commissioner Wolfson,
4.
Commissioner Carpenter,
4.
Commissioner Michelle,
In favor.
Chairman Leo.
In favor. Thank you, Ms. Barbuti. Please let us know when do you anticipate starting this the project?
I would suspect once we get, I believe the village's consultant is under review of my documents. If there are no concerns they have, I will submit for, final for a permit. And once we get a permit, we should probably start construction within 30 days of, the building permit.
So you're talking about May, June timeframe?
Mr. Williams, any idea when the village consultant?
You should have something back shortly, so if you get everything done, we'll get you in the ground by April. How's that sound?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Okay.
Okay. And then once we start chipping rock, we'll get, surveys done, and I'll get a final site plan done. We'll come back to the board for final approval.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Great. All right. Thank you.
I appreciate it. All have a good night.
Take care, Dave.
Thank you.
All right. Since we have no other business, I make a motion to close this meeting. Can I have a second, please?
So moved.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.